I think actually just generally like thinking small is just like quite a nice approach anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like rather than going, yeah, gonna do this, but actually like having like I'd say smaller goals or like small like the way I think about it is like smaller things of intent as opposed to just like a big. Can you swear on here?
Yeah.
Like a big fucking goal that, like, to be honest, is so disconnected from the actual intent anyway that it's probably pretty hard to achieve. And I think just thinking small actually and then building and growing and actually trying to create a cadence around a bigger goal, just being aware of it and understanding that goal might change. Like,
And that's all right.
And that's absolutely fine. But I just think just thinking small, just to get on the process and starting the journey is always quite nice. And actually appreciating the journey as opposed to just being so hung up on the end destination. Super fucking.
Have you got any examples of that? Of like
Tons,
being that's a loaded question as well because I know a couple of them. But have you got any examples of like having set a goal for yourself, but then that completely shifting as you've gone through the process and you've ended up somewhere else?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I think that's always. So I think for me, like in terms of like my working career, I'd always been very like goal driven. So when I think about Radio 1 or just been getting at the BBC, like I was very intent on where I wanted to get to, and that became a very clear focus. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, I'm living this thing now, and I'm kind of looking for something else. What's that other thing? And then that maybe starts to describe the reason why I then went on to do other stuff and like left there to go and do other stuff, and then became quite like driven by another goal, which was essentially to like maybe move and leave and maybe go somewhere like New York. But then you kind of you become so fixated on the destination that you begin to underappreciate, again, what I was saying, like the actual journey of getting there. And you never really like appreciate that things can move and things can change. And when things do move and do change, actually, what does that goal mean now? And actually just, just appreciating the journey as opposed to the destination is where the beauty lies, man. The beauty lies in the journey, not necessarily the destination. I think that for me has been like a big kind of it's kind of been a big observation for me this year.
And if you're putting your happiness on goals too much, you're never gonna ultimately be happy because you're only going to be happy when you've reached the goal.
Yeah.
But then there's always another goal after that.
Exactly,
so even when you reach that goal, you only have a small moment of, oh yeah, sick. But then it's like, okay, on to the next one. And then you're searching for the next one.
Yeah, I think also like, there's a perception that maybe a goal needs to be something big and massive. Like, when I think of goal, I think of fucking Jamie Vardy netting like Fury at the moment, do you know what I mean? But I also feel like I'm sure maybe like, I don't know, Trent Alexander-Arnold is just as happy with the fucking assist. It's not like something so big and so jubilant per se, but he's just happy with that level of intention is very different to the one that maybe the objective that maybe Jamie Vardy has, right? I don't know where I'm going with this analogy, but I think there's something different to be said, like, what is the end result that you want? And like, again, what's the intent for it? Like, is the intent just to be seen as being like, fuck, look where I am, like, I'm fucking here. Maybe that might have been something like, that might have been the reason behind some of the shit that I wanted to do, right? Like, fuck, look at me.
Big
like,
statement piece.
Exactly.
Ego.
Like,
I'm in New York, look at me.
Fueling the ego, innit?
100%. Yeah, for sure. And actually, it's like, maybe it's more of a like, it's centered around the exterior as opposed to the interior, right? So maybe you're too focused on the perception of achieving something rather than really understanding the internal like beauty that you're getting as a result. And then sometimes you can get that really out of sync. You can be so hell-bent on getting somewhere because the perception of that in your own head as well as others is really good. But actually maybe thinking a bit smaller and actually really appreciating like the internal stuff that you can get actually supersedes what you probably had in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always find that like the more adaptive you can be along the way, the better it is for you. Because if you, like you said, if you restrict yourself to saying I want to be here or do this thing and get to this point, you're only giving yourself that avenue towards it. You're forgetting about all the other stuff that could potentially be opportunities around it, or that could come in, or that might appear, and if you're completely shut off to those, you don't know what you're kind of, where you could be. You could actually be way beyond that. Yeah. But if you're not open to those possibilities or opportunities, then you're just kind of restricting yourself in like a really disciplined way. And it's good to have discipline, but you have to have the freedom within that as well.
It's almost like picturing like who or what you want to become, rather than like a specific goal of earning X amount of money or doing whatever. Thinking of, all right, well, this is how I want to live my life, and then everything will be built around that. And that's something that you can do from like the off. So you're like, if you're feeling that you're not reaching your goal, or you're feeling that like you're far away from something, if you can like think of how you would feel when you've reached this goal of what you want, and keep going back to that feeling as much as you can each day.
Yeah.
And you know, that will help allow you to, one, live in the moment, and two, not try and reach a goal for a feeling and then worry about reaching another goal, because you're just like manifesting this feeling.
Yeah, so it's like intent and then embody it, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a desire to get somewhere or do something, then having that desire and that desire alone, as well as understanding what is driving that, is one thing. But then the second thing beyond that is going, all right, well then, why don't I just act as if I already have that? What does that do? Like if I was to feel it as if it's already happening, then suddenly that thought then begins to tie into the feeling, which naturally creates a really positive state.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So then suddenly it feels like, okay, well actually, if this feeling is good, then it's probably more than likely, by law, that actually will happen. Right?